Hello everyone, welcome back to the another session in Principles of Programming Languages. This video will be going to explain you about language evaluation criteria. This topic you will find in Unit 1 as topic number 3. Now, so basically we will be going to evaluate the programming languages based upon some criteria. And this criteria is what? Readability, writability, reliability and cost. So I'm not saying that, even the textbook will not say that only these parameters are necessary to evaluate. No, these are the what major parameters. If a language is providing these four, then we say that it is good to use for some kind of applications. That's it. But we should not say that only these parameters are required. No. These are what necessary. I'll give an example. If you wanted to communicate anything to the other person. Now let's see that if two persons wanted to communicate each other, you need a language here. Maybe the language of numbers, maybe the language of words, maybe the language of signs or whatever. If you wanted to say hi, you can use here words, which is alphabets HI. Or else you can do with the action by shaking your hand, or else you can send a numerical number to say hi. So something, right? So this is what a language, communication in between two entities is a language. Now the same way, if I wanted to do some application, now assume that I wanted to develop one application which is A. A is my application. He is a software developer who wanted to develop some application which is A. If he wanted to develop this application, whatever instructions he is writing to execute this application should be evaluated in concern to readability, writability, reliability and cost. Otherwise, the application is not getting executed or not getting implemented. So I'll give an example, the other example. If you wanted to communicate with your friend, something saying that hi. Now friend A, friend B. If friend B is looking at this message, if he understood your message, he will give reply back. Correct? So this is how the way he can give reply. He can choose other words to give a reply because he understood your language. So understandability will comes when he could able to read it. Understandability will come when he could able to write something as a reply. So every language what you are using should be readable, writable, reliable, cost. Did you understand? Now, so concern to the applications of software development, every language should cross these phases. Each language what you are using to develop the application should be readable, should be writable, should be reliable and should also have a worthful cost, affordable cost. So cost also includes some maintenance parts of the applications that also we'll discuss in this video. Now let's move one by one. So what exactly the readability? So what do you mean by readability and how it accomplishes? One of the most important criteria for judging a programming language is the readability. So readability in the sense, as in the previous example I discussed, readability in the sense understandability. The moment when other person is reading your message, he could able to understand something, then only he can give a reply or you can expect a reply from him. Right? Now, the primary positive characteristics of programming languages was efficiency. Language constructs were designed more from the point of starting to the point of today, what we were. In this era of computers, every language is being used by the others when it is understandable. So, readability must be considered in the context of the problem domain. For example, if a program that describes a computation is written in language not designed for such use, the program may be unnatural and it is not useful for the others. Correct? So To accomplish readability in all the parameters, there are also some other parameters to understand readability. Those are overall simplicity, orthogonality, data types, and syntax design. Now we'll see this. The overall simplicity of a programming language strongly affects its readability. A language with we'll see an example. A language with a large number of basic constructs is more difficult to learn than one with a smaller number. Programmers who must use a large language often learn a subset of the language and ignore its other features. So I'll give an example. The example is what? If I wanted to increase a variable value by 1, if I wanted to increase a variable value that I am taking as count is my variable, I wanted to increase it by 1. Now, so how can I say this thing in the application? I wanted to increase variable value by 1. How can I say? Or else how can I give an instruction? I have many ways to do it, right? So one way is what? I can write count plus 1 valid. So the point is what? Readability should be given understandability to the other person, and it should be simple to understand. So simple to understand is what? Whatever you wanted to do in the application, that should be effected in the part of coding. So it should be simple. And the next is what? You may have the other drawback, which is multiplicity. Simplicity is what? Making the instruction in simple way to understand. Multiplicity is what? You can do the same thing in multiple ways. That means count plus 1 is right, and count plus plus is right, plus plus count is also right. So all these are called as what? Multiplicity. This is what complicating characteristic of a programming language, which is multiplicity. Having more than one way to accomplish a particular operation. So basically this kind of things you'll see in Java and in C also. So you can make right this way, count equal to count and count plus 1 is right. Correct? Count plus equal to 1 is also right. Shorthand assignment operator. So all the statements will give you the same understandability. So this feature we used to call with the name of multiplicity. So now what we will be going to do is, readability, understandability can be acquired by the other persons or by the by the language platforms if it is having simplicity. Whatsoever multiplicity features we were identified, that we will differentiate from language to language. And the next feature is what? Orthogonality. Orthogonality is what? In a programming language means that a relatively small set of primitive constructs can be combined in a relatively small number of ways to build the control and data structure of the language. So we'll see an example for the same. If I wanted to write some instruction, that means I'll take fresh page. Now we'll see about orthogonality. So orthogonality is what? The meaning of an orthogonal language feature is independent of the context of its appearance in a program. The word orthogonal comes from the mathematical concept of orthogonal vectors, which are independent of each other. Now, orthogonality follows from a symmetry of relationship among primitives. A lack of orthogonality leads to exceptions to the rules of the language. For example, in a programming language, the language which supports pointers, it should be possible to define a pointer to point any specific type defined in the language. However, if pointers are not allowed to point to arrays, many potentially useful user-defined data structures cannot be defined. This is what orthogonality feature. And the next is what? Data types. So data types is what? In some languages, data types may be not same as the in other language. So here understandability will goes wrong. Now we'll see in data types. The presence of adequate facilities for defining data types and data structures in a language is another significant aid to readability. For example, a numeric type is used for an indicator flag. Now let's take the flag name as some timeout. I am representing timeout is equal to 1. The meaning of this statement is clear, whereas in a language that includes non-Boolean data types, right? Timeout is equal to 1. So it will be unclear in the languages which will support Boolean data types. Why it is unclear? Because it supports Boolean. In the place of 1, we'll make it as true, correct? So this is right in the case of some languages, this is right in the case of some languages. The language where Boolean data type is fundamental data type or else supported data type, now it is clear for them to understand timeout is equal to true. The data types which are not supported, Boolean is a data type which are not supported in the languages, there will write timeout equal to 1. So the presence of this facility for defining data types and data structures will give some complexity, but that is the reason why we'll differentiate from language to language. The language where you have to use this one, we see that the language will not have any Boolean data type. So in this way also we'll improve readability and we'll take precaution not to have any conflict in between users versus the language platforms. And the next is about syntax design. So here it comes very huge role because all the programming languages will not support all kind of keywords. If you say sum is a variable in C and you can make it in C++, in Java, you can make sum as a variable which is created by user. But the same sum is a reserved word in COBOL. So readability will comes from language to language in different way, as the way you have to know the concept of that particular language, how it supports. So readability is one of the feature to judge the